When was the last time you looked down at your phone, certain your child was safe just a few steps away? Safeguard this thought, because every second of that glance might be the very window a hidden predator is waiting for. Picture the scene: balloons bursting, cameras flashing, a birthday song echoing through the room. Yet somewhere, behind the bright frosting and innocent laughter, a man studies the crowd. Not the cake, not the kids, but the parents' blind spots. In a chilling jailhouse. Confession, one offender admitted. I don't hunt children first, I hunt distracted adults. Child safety evaporates the instant parental control drifts into autopilot. Have you ever passed your tablet to your daughter so you could answer an email, believing a cartoon would babysit her for 5 harmless minutes? Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover may turn that harmless moment into a wake-up call you'll never forget. Grooming begins long before the first private message. It starts with a quiet scan for parents afraid to say no, hesitant to impose limits or convinced that boundaries make them cruel. The predator's eyes flit from mother who laughs a little too loudly to father lost in small talk, mapping vulnerabilities like exits on a blueprint. Every polite smile is data, every unsettled glance a signal. This family won't notice the friendly stranger offering help with math homework in the living room. And if homework can morph into a hunting ground, where exactly does safety still exist? You might think a church festival, school hallway, or Candy Bright playroom comes with built-in protection, yet the statistics scream otherwise. The next story you hear could be yours. So lean in, tighten your grip on reality, and listen for the footsteps most parents never hear. Because the path to true safeguard begins with the sound of truth approaching. Each heartbeat you feel right now is proof that vigilance still lives inside you, and that instinct is exactly what this community is built on. If any line so far has echoed your own fear or sharpened your resolve, pause, just long enough to share that ripple. Tell us in the comments which detail hit hardest, because the next parent scrolling by might find strength in your words. When you tap like, the algorithm reads it as a flare that says more families need this warning. Every click widens the circle of safeguard. And if you choose to subscribe, you're not adding a number, you're standing. Watch with us, making sure the next deep dive lands in your feed before another predator slips through the cracks. Now breathe in, steady, because the signs we're about to unveil hide in places you walk every day. Now look past the cartoon avatar and the friendly emoji. The modern groomer streams Minecraft with perfectly timed jokes, drops a verse from Proverbs before saying goodnight, and praises your daughter's drawing like a seasoned art critic. From the outside, he feels like a mentor. Inside, he's a slow-acting parasite. Grooming, stripped of euphemism, is boundary demolition in 5 silent strokes. Friendship, isolation, secrecy, testing, exploitation. While that cycle spins, recommendation algorithms amplify his presence, and every sweet compliment fires dopamine that clouds the child's danger radar. Cybersecurity analysts call it footprint harvesting when a predator gathers breadcrumbs, lunchbox color, piano lesson schedule, pet name, crafting a master key for future blackmail. He no longer needs a dark alley. 15 unsupervised minutes inside the pocket metaverse buzzing in the next room are enough. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic. Picture an online study group with 200 students. The tutor launches a bonus Google Meet for anyone who wants revision. Inside, he drops a mildly risque joke and watches who laughs. Those usernames shift to his green list. Next comes a quiz on anatomical curiosities under the banner of sex education. Every answer scores emotional vulnerability, and the chat slides into a private Discord where bots erase history in seconds. Privacy laws are still crawling to keep pace with self-vanishing messages, and the predator floats behind a VPN, archiving everything on the dark web. Then comes consolation, sprinkling mental health buzzwords, mindfulness, trauma, safe space. He offers a healing shoulder, planting dependence before requesting, just one picture so I can pray for you. There's a church, version 2. In the youth group chat, he asks for worship songs about deep inner scars. In DMs, he murmurs about a spiritual connection with the shy girl who sent a voice note. Scripture becomes shield, Faith becomes invitation. Vulnerability becomes one-way street. Parents see only religious engagement on the family tablet, never the hidden notes app where he logs addresses, locker combinations, even the brand logo on a favorite hoodie. That dossier converts to sextortion currency or fuels a deepfake generator. With 3 public selfies, free software can render videos where a child appears to do the unthinkable. Psychologists warn that the cortisol surge from such digital blackmail rivals a physical assault, while the predator offers unlicensed therapy safely removed from adult oversight. Relying on parental controls alone overlooks a critical flaw. Software can filter profanity, but cannot filter synthetic empathy. The algorithm blocks sext, yet lets "you're special to me" sail through, and that sentence, repeated nightly, erodes boundaries with the patience of a slow virus. The antidote isn't permanent paranoia, but qualified presence, daily conversation, screens facing outward, a household creed that body and privacy are sacred. When a child understands that no touch, physical or digital, is neutral, they wear an invisible armor stronger than any antivirus suite. If at any moment in this journey your stomach tightened, comment below. I see the unseen. Every environment marketed as kid-friendly comes wrapped in soft colors and even softer promises. The youth choir that rehearses under stained glass windows, the neon arcade where tokens rain like confetti, the after-school study hall monitored by graduate tutors. Each setting feels like a prepackaged guarantee of safety. Yet the most recent NSPCC audit shows that reported cases of sexual communication with a child in the UK have soared 89% since 2017, and most of those conversations start on apps proudly stamped 12+. In other words, the predator no longer needs to infiltrate the darker corners of the internet. He simply walks through the front door labeled family. He does so by speaking the dialect of trust. Say it's a Christian server and watch how shoulders relax. Say the teacher's supervising and see parents drift back to scrolling. Trust mutates into camouflage precisely because it feels so reasonable. Behavioral economics researchers call this the halo effect. Once a single positive trait is perceived, faith, education, wholesome branding, our brains outsource further judgment. We believe the space polices itself, when in reality, the predator is already mapping privacy corridors, the choir's robbery-proof changing cubicle that doubles as a selfie booth, the arcade's quiet back room where staff leave kids to count tickets, the study hall's breakout chat reserved for advanced questions. Every architectural detail designed for convenience becomes a blind spot ripe for social engineering. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Picture a summer Bible camp live streaming its talent show. The comment section scrolls faster than any counselor can read, and buried between Bible verse emojis, a user named Bright Shepherd invites campers to a virtual fellowship circle. The link leads to a private Zoom room where screen sharing is disabled, except for the host. Parents glance at the living room TV and see nothing but well-lit stages, never realizing their child is 2 clicks away from a controlled conversation with an adult whose real face remains off camera. Machine learning moderators flag explicit language, yet the invitation relies on coded Christian slang and prayer requests, slipping under every filter. In the candy-lit arcade, a man in a staff hoodie drifts from machine to machine, casually offering bonus tokens to kids whose parents are glued to lattes or Instagram reels. Incentive psychology terms this reciprocity priming, a small favor that earns disproportionate trust. Once the child is hooked, the predator suggests they move to a quiet multiplayer terminal, so we won't hog the popular games. Surveillance cameras cover the main aisle, not the dead angle behind the claw crane. Minutes later, a whispered invitation to share high-score tips moves the child from public floor to semi-private corner, where phones can exchange numbers unnoticed. No alarm bells ring because the music is loud, the lights are joyful, and the staff hoodie is blue like the corporate logo. Study halls pose their own paradox. Designed for concentration, they foster silence that masks micro-interactions. A tutor who praises a student's essay on the Great Gatsby might segue into DMs about forbidden love, leveraging literary analysis into emotional intimacy. The platform brandishes banners about COPPA compliance, yet it collects a digital exhaust, timestamps, cursor movements, keystroke rhythms that the predator repurposes. Cyber forensics experts warn that even typing latency can hint at a child's confidence level, providing additional leverage for tailored manipulation. All these ecologies share one design flaw. They assume watchful adults are always present. But presence without vigilance is performance. Neuroscience tells us the prefrontal cortex, the region that evaluates risk, doesn't finish wiring until the mid-20s. Expecting a 12-year-old to spot grooming cues in a setting implicitly, sanctioned by authority, is like handing them a parachute and calling it a pilot's license. The real safeguard is a feedback loop of transparent routines, parents who question brand promises, organizers who audit every side room, kids who understand that a friendly adult in uniform still needs boundaries as clear as daylight lines on a sports field. Creating that culture requires constant micro-conversations, not a once-a-year safety seminar. If any slice of this picture felt uncomfortably familiar, an arcade corner, a choir robe, a study hall breakout, drop a line below. No halo blinds me. Your single sentence might break someone else's illusion of guaranteed safety. Friendship looks harmless at first glance. An emoji-laden hello dropped into a group chat, a quick compliment on a Roblox build, a shared GIF from the latest Marvel trailer. That single dopamine flash lays the neural groundwork, and the groomer records the response time like a behavioral economics experiment. A fast emoji back means receptivity. A pause suggests caution. Either way, the predator adjusts tone and pacing, running what digital forensics analysts call an adaptive script, dialogue refined in real time by micro-cues most adults never see. Neuroscience tells us that a tween brain fires reward pathways faster than it locks long-term memory, so that tiny sparkle of social validation hits harder than any parental lecture about stranger danger. Isolation follows with disarming ease. Let's chat. Privately. Grown-ups don't get memes. The shift feels like VIP access, yet it's actually a silent reroute, from a room with windows to one with blackout curtains. Machine learning filters inside mainstream apps scan for explicit keywords, but they are blind to subtext. A simple joke about homework morphs into inside language that parents and algorithms can't decode. As the child leans in, the predator widens the secrecy frame. Homework help becomes emotional confessions at 2 a.m., and the sense of exclusivity hijacks the limbic system's need for belonging. Psychologists call it social tethering. The tighter the knot, the looser the boundaries. Secrets seal the trap. This is our special thing. 4 innocuous words weaponize trust as collateral. At this stage, cryptography isn't just for hackers, it's emotional encryption. The predator may introduce shared Spotify playlists, private Minecraft realms, or a Google Doc titled Dreams. Each shared asset feels collaborative but doubles as leverage. A secret song becomes proof of complicity. If you break the bond, you break the music. The child's developing prefrontal cortex can't compute that secrets from a stranger should weigh less than honesty with family. It only feels the fear of losing connection. Testing creeps in next, deliberately mild. Send a silly face pic. The request is framed as playful, but its analytic value rivals an A/B test in a marketing campaign. Will the child comply instantly, negotiate, freeze? Every reaction informs the next request. If hesitation appears, the predator backpedals, floods the chat with reassurance, and waits until a late-night surge of cortisol weakens the defenses. Cognitive load theory shows that fatigue narrows working memory, reducing risk assessment to a coin toss. The predator simply stays awake longer than the gatekeepers. Exploitation arrives not as a demand but a culmination. You trust me, right? Then let's prove it. By now, loyalty outweighs alarm. Virtual reality rooms become safe houses for conversations too graphic to exist in text, and screen record functions are disabled to protect privacy. The child's self-worth, slowly siphoned and replaced with dependency, turns obedience into default. Any refusal feels like betrayal of the only person who really understands. Here, artificial intelligence image tools may enter the mix. One innocent selfie can be deep-faked into compromising content, a digital sword hanging over fragile shoulders. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Consider how each phase exploits not just emotion, but gaps in policy and technology. Friendship thrives on latency metrics that social media companies monetize. Isolation leverages encrypted architecture celebrated for protecting free speech. Secrets exploit gamified learning platforms that trade privacy for engagement. Tests slip through content moderation nets, fine-tuned to profanity, but oblivious to contextual grooming. Exploitation hides behind anonymity protocols championed by cyber libertarians. The very innovations designed to connect and protect us can, in unguarded hands, become tools of predation. So how do we counter a strategy that hides inside everything children love? By naming the phases out loud, rehearsing them at the dinner table like traffic lights. Green for friendly, yellow for private, red for secret. We anchor rules not in fear, but in neurochemical literacy, explaining that any adult who rushes a secret is hijacking their dopamine. We turn devices outward on family desks. We audit chat histories together. We refuse shame so a frightened child can surface without fearing blame. Most of all, we accept that vigilance is not paranoia. It is parenthood upgraded for the digital century. If any line here cut closer to home than you expected, write in the comments. I see the red light. That single phrase could map the next safe road for someone else listening in silence. That burst of laughter you hear at 2 in the morning, a single giggle muffled by gaming headphones, should feel out of place, yet your half-asleep brain files it under kids being kids. By breakfast, a new slang pops up at the table, a phrase you've never used and can't quite trace on Urban Dictionary. You ask where it came from. Your child shrugs, phone flipped face down like a vault door. Seconds later, the familiar irritability sparks. Eyes roll, shoulders tense, an invisible wall declares the conversation over. To the untrained eye, these are mood swings, but digital forensics teams label them behavioral flares, micro-signals that something significant is unfolding off-screen. Worldwide tip lines now log tens of thousands of self-generated child abuse images every year. Photos and videos a child took under duress, believing exposure to the entire internet hung on the next decision. International courts call this sextortion, and its victims range from honor roll students to soccer captains. The predator's leverage is rarely brute force. It's psychological jujitsu, twisting the child's fear of humiliation into a leash stronger than any lock. Neurobiologists explain that the adolescent amygdala processes social embarrassment as primal threat, flooding the bloodstream with cortisol. Under that chemical storm, rational risk assessment collapses. A teen will pay almost any price, even their own safety, to keep a secret snapshot from going viral in the school group chat. Now consider how swiftly a household routine becomes ammunition. A family photo on Instagram reveals a house address in the background mailbox. GPS metadata tags the exact location. A happy birthday post gives the child's age. Data brokers scrape these crumbs, bundle them with breached email databases, and voila! A predator knows bedtime is 10 p.m., that the child's favorite band is Imagine Dragons, and that the parents leave for spin class on Tuesdays. Cybersecurity specialists call this open source intelligence, OSINT for short, and it lets an abuser appear almost clairvoyant. When he texts, "I saw you wore the red hoodie again today," he isn't guessing. He's mining public pixels you posted 2 months ago. That artificial sense of omnipresence tightens the psychological grip. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject. Imagine the child finally confides in a trusted teacher. The teacher reports the incident, but the image is already on decentralized peer-to-peer servers. Deleting it is like trying to erase ink spilled in the ocean. Blockchain anonymity, Once hailed as freedom tech, now shields distributors who trade shame like a cryptocurrency. Digital rights advocates wrestle with the paradox. Privacy tools that protect whistleblowers also cloak predators. Meanwhile, the child watches a download counter climb on a rogue site, each tick a blow to self-worth. Clinical psychologists note that the resulting trauma mimics hostage syndrome. Even when the blackmailer disappears, the threat's echo keeps the child in silent captivity. So how does a parent decode these invisible warning lights without turning the home into a surveillance state? Start with relational algorithms of your own. Replace "What are you hiding?" with "Teach me that new meme." Shared curiosity lowers defensive coding. Keep devices charging in communal spaces. An open screen is a social contract, not a punishment. Rotate dinner table questions like a penetration tester probing for vulnerabilities. What was the funniest thing in your group chat today? If the answer is always nothing, the real story lives elsewhere. Most importantly, normalize rescue language. A single code word your child can text when anxiety spikes. No context needed. The moment the word appears, you know to pivot from questioning to shielding. These aren't overreactions. They're counterscripts to a playbook choreographed against our children's neurochemistry. Predators exploit latency, encryption, and adolescent dopamine. Parents must counter with presence, conversation, and a clear doctrine of zero shame. When a child believes that telling the truth will not trigger punishment, the blackmailers hold fractures. The battle is less about firewalls and more about trust architecture, building an emotional VPN that routes panic through reassurance instead of silence. If any part of this resonates, if a late-night laugh or a face-down phone suddenly feels different, drop a comment. This makes sense to me. Your sentence could illuminate another. Parents' dark room. Now I want to go even deeper into this topic, because the difference between fear and readiness is a blueprint you can put in motion tonight. Start with the open screen rule. A tablet that faces the room, never the lap, turns invisible conversations into family soundtracks. Behavioral economics studies show that a single visible glance from an adult reduces risky online behavior by more than 40%. The same drop you see when retail stores add a security mirror near the cash register. Screens angled outward create their own convex mirror, signaling, "We're all in this digital space together." It's not surveillance, it's shared terrain. Next comes the weekly contact audit, your household's version of digital hygiene. Sit shoulder to shoulder and scroll through message requests, game invites, follower lists. Sunlight kills mold, and transparency starves secrecy. Cybersecurity analysts liken this to patch management in a smart home network. You wouldn't ignore firmware updates on a router that guards your bank data, so why ignore the social gateways that guard your child's self-worth? The ritual should feel collaborative, not interrogative. Ask what made them laugh, what memes feel stale, which group chat drains their energy. You'll map emotional bandwidth while purging phantom followers. Layer on a family code word, as simple as bluebird or pineapple, one innocuous noun that carries the weight of an emergency beacon. Whether whispered in a sleepover call or texted from a friend's basement, that single word means pick me up. No explanations required. Crisis counseling experts call this pre-consented exit, a social parachute that lets a child bail out of uncomfortable situations without losing status among peers. It transforms the phone in their pocket from potential leash to reliable lifeline. Now weave pewter into everyday practice. Doors close for changing clothes. Knocks replace abrupt entries. Nudity isn't normalized, it's contextualized. A child who understands bodily privacy can sense when privacy is being stolen, much like a musician with perfect pitch detects a single off note in an orchestra. Developmental neuroscientists explain that early lessons in bodily autonomy sculpt neuroplasticity, wiring reflex pathways that trigger defensive instincts before conscious analysis kicks in. Respectful boundaries at home become a rehearsal for boundary enforcement everywhere else. None of this equates vigilance with distrust. Think of it as intelligent love, an operating system that updates in response to evolving threats. Just as mindfulness training teaches adults to notice subtle shifts in breath, these protocols train families to notice subtle shifts in online atmosphere. One parent I interviewed compares the rhythm to routine fire drills. We don't expect flames every day, but we know how to reach the exit without panic. The goal isn't to wrap children in bubble wrap. It's to outfit them with weather, gear for the storms that algorithms can summon at the tap of a screen. These safeguards also teach critical meta skills. Data literacy, when children learn why a side scroll ad appears after a private chat, emotional regulation when they recognize dopamine bait, and even conflict resolution when siblings remind each other to flip screens toward the light. Over time, the family evolves into a micro-network of ethical hackers, stress-testing routines, refining passwords, challenging random friend requests. The dinner table becomes both firewall and forum. Remember, predators rely on silence, latency, and isolation. Each protocol you install shortens the silence, reduces the latency, closes the isolation loop. Like adding layers of encryption, you push the threat horizon farther away, giving neurodevelopment the time it needs to strengthen judgment and self-respect. And when your child eventually steps into college dorms, co-working hubs, or the metaverse's next iteration, these habits travel with them, tucked beside their passport and phone charger, portable armor forged in everyday conversations. If any element of these safeguards sparks a strategy you're ready to apply tonight, write in the comments, building the shield. Your insight might become the missing patch in another family's defense. Picture that candle again. A miniature sun held between two palms, delicate yet fierce enough to cut through a room full of shadow. Every compliment from a stranger, every late night ping that feels special is a gust aimed at that flame. Most days the wax barely trembles. On others, one careless swipe can tilt the wick toward darkness. Agora eu quero ir ainda mais profundo nesse assunto. Because the true art of safeguarding isn't just blocking the wind. It's teaching the flame to lean, recover, and rise taller after each assault. Neurobiologists call this adaptive resilience, the brain's capacity to form new synaptic guardrails when awareness meets repetition. Each time a child names a boundary out loud, the hippocampus tags that memory with emotional salience, reinforcing a neural firewall stronger than any parental control app. In parallel, social science research shows that families who ritualize micro check-ins, 3-minute debriefs after school, a shared stretch before bedtime, cultivate what psychologists term collective efficacy. It's the oxygen that feeds the flame without letting it roar out of control. Yet the outside world keeps changing algorithms, aesthetics, even the language of manipulation. One month it's Finstas, the next it's disappearing audio rooms in the metaverse. The safeguard mindset treats these updates like weather reports, not existential threats. You don't panic when rain is forecast. You grab a jacket, maybe adjust your route. In the same way, a new platform means revisiting the open screen rule, refreshing the family code word, practicing a mock scenario where an avatar asks for a secret. The exercise feels theatrical, but so does a fire drill, until the day it saves a life. And remember, protecting innocence isn't about trapping it in glass. It's about giving it space to glow, to cast warmth on friends, to guide other candles that may be flickering in the wind. So if this image of light and vigilance resonates with you, escribe holding the light. And because a single spark of knowledge can ignite a lifetime of vigilance, I pulled together a safeguard rapid response blueprint, a concise step-by-step guide. That translates everything we've discussed into 15-minute actions you can run tonight. If it feels right for you, take a look at the material I left down in the description. It walks you through real-world scenarios, scripts for tricky conversations, and a printable red flag checklist you can pin next to the family router. This resource might come down soon. Platform algorithms shift, links expire, so if it could help your household, grab it while it's still live. And so I know who's stepping into the light with us. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. Your city marker becomes another candle on our map of guarded futures. If you've stayed with me all the way to this last ember, thank you for helping keep the flame alive. If our time together sparked a new layer of awareness, tap the like button so I know this conversation mattered. And because these deep dives only grow richer when we walk them together, hit subscribe and let the next safeguard story find you first. In the comments, type, "I'm guarding the light." That single line tells me you were here until the final frame and adds your voice to this quiet watch. There's a companion video waiting right here on the side that threads into everything we uncovered tonight. Click over and follow me there, and let's keep building the shield. One insight, one family, one bright candle at a time.